When we became a multi-product company, we went through this really wrenching change. It just totally broke a lot of the things that we were doing before. The team started inventing new ways to do their work. On the management team, we all kind of started to freak out a little bit. It was interesting because it all came together. And what it came together around was actually something that people in Billing Center had been innovating with. They sort of invented their own variant of Agile. The other teams picked those ideas up. And so what we thought was originally going to go in all these different directions actually wound up converging.
I took this from the fit and finish. Been doing Agile, and so I said, we're sort of doing this Agile, let's really do it. Let's time box it. Let's use stories, and let's track stuff. Put this one down here.
Ted Young came on a couple of years into the Billing Center maturity. He brought in some new ideas about how to really implement Agile into the process.
I approached the team I was in and said that I'd like to try to use story cards instead of just tracking things electronically, because there's something about the physical, tangible card that you can move around that I think is really important.
This one has like 20 or something breaks associated with it, which seem to be the highest percentage of known breaks. Our board contains stories of what's going on, so it's very useful for our visualization because we can go up at the board and see who's working on what. So it's a quick visual glance of what's happening that day and what's coming up.
Most people in software don't realize that communication is the biggest problem. Stuff doesn't work because people aren't talking. Agile is really about communication and collaboration. We want to create a plugin to allow custom item events to be placed on a statement. One of the things we do is we estimate as a team.
Later on, let's say you transfer the policy from this producer to some other producer, right? How would that appear here?
It depends how we want to enforce the custom item events.
This is where we discover what it is we actually need to do.
So we're mostly estimating a testing effort here then.
Testing that we can allow custom item events to be put on a statement. For each story, we basically say, everybody understand it? Yep. And then everybody shows their card. And the reason why we use cards is to prevent any kind of bias. And go. We try to prioritize what's the most important feature, what is it we absolutely need, and what's the riskiest thing that we're most uncertain about. What's the thing on that board that scares you the most? Let's do that first and get that fear out of the way.
One thing that's been really interesting about seeing the results of the process changes is just to see how hungry the teams are to understand what other people in the company are doing. It's a sign of a very healthy culture that ideas kind of live and die on their own and not because some VP somewhere gets up and says, this is the way we're going to develop software and I'm really smart and I know what the teams should be doing. What really seems to happen is the teams pick up ideas from each other. Good ideas get tried out and they stick, and bad ideas don't stick, and that's a really good thing.